Welcome back to the Yuwa Shinobi. This is the time for us to discuss the story of all characters from Naruto to Boruto era. In this video, we're gonna tell you about Gedo Mazo, the ancient Jubi statue. But before entering the video, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, so you will always update the latest videos from us, which has rare and detailed story that can't be found on any other channel. And this is the Yuwa Shinobi. Gedo Mazo is a giant statue that is container of the Jubi. This statue is categorized as item or summoned animal because it can only appear using the Kuji's no Jutsu. Gedo Mazo statue was created when Hagoromo and Hamura finally succeeded in selling the mother Kaguya, leaving a Jubi which of course will be very dangerous for humans. Because of this, Hagoromo broke the power of the Jubi into 9-tailed beasts called Biju. After the Jubi was extracted, his body, which no longer had any strength, turned into a huge statue. This statue was then brought by Hamura to the moon and sealed it there to be safe from the people who tried to do evil with the Jubi statue. Thousands of years later, shinobi named Madara Uchiha, who is descendant of Indra Akatsuki, transplanted Hashirama's cell, who is descendant of Ashura Akatsuki, into his body after he lost their one-on-one fight. With the union of Indra and Ashura cells, who are the children of Hagoromo, Madara succeeded in waning the Rinnegan, the eye power of only Hagoromo possessed. By using the power of this eye, Madara managed to release the seal of Gedo Mazo, who was on the moon, and summon him to Earth using Kuji's no Jutsu. Madara spent his time researching this statue and matching it with narrative contained in Uchiha inscriptions, which contains the origin of the chakra and the Jubi. He then used the Gedo Mazo statue as container to multiply the Hashirama cell he got. The result of the productions became Wetsatsu, which was called cloning Hashirama, but he had far below strength because it only came from a small part of his body cells. After that, because his body was very old, Madara implanted a chakra tube that drained and Gezomado chakra into his body so that he could stay alive. Madara spent his day in underground cave while set his grand plan, which is to create an ideal new world using strongest unbreakable genjutsu named Mugen Tsukuyomi. To realize his dream, Madara must re-enter the 9 Biju into the Gedo Mazo statue so that the Jubi can rise and turn into chakra tree. At that time, Madara, who has Rinnegan, will unite with the Jubi and to Mugen Tsukuyomi. He started the first step of his plan by secretly transplanting his Rinnegan eyes to one of the children who have the Asura bloodline, namely Nagato Uzumaki. Several years later, Madara finds one person he can target to control, a young Uchiha who is on missions in the Third Great Ninja War. He set the trap so that the child was crushed by a large rock and part of his body was crushed. Madara then assigned Zetsu to take the boy to his base where the Gedo Mazo was kept. He then helped him by transplanting his damaged and missing body using Hashirama's cells contained in the Gedo Mazo statue. Slowly but surely, Madara instigated a boy named Obito to follow his plan, where he told him about the plan to make Mugen Tsukuyomi, which he called the Suki no Mi plan, or the Eye of the Moon. To make this plan happen, Obito must collect the 9 beasts and seal them into the body of the Gedo Mazo, take the Rinnegan eyes that he entrusts to Nagato, and resurrect Madara using the Rinne Tensei, which is move that can resurrect the dead. After Madara believed that Obito had been manipulated and his brain was set to create an ideal world, when lost a loved one, Madara removed the tube that connected his body to Gedo Mazo and died at very old age. With Madara's death, the Gedo Mazo statue becomes inactive and turns into ordinary statue without the power of the Rinnegan. Obito also replaced Madara's duties. He tries to manipulate Nagato to follow Tsukinomi's plans and use the power of Gedo Mazo. Unfortunately, at the time, Nagato along with his 2 friends Yahiko and Konan refused Obito's offer and remained focused on their missions of seeking peace in Amigakure with the Akatsuki organizations they had just formed. But the unyielding Obito kept watching Nagato secretly. In the Third Great Ninja War, Nagato subconsciously summoned the statue of Gedo Mazo when Yahiko and Konan were in danger. But before Nagato used the power of the Gedo Mazo, his 2 comrades immediately stopped him and made Nagato unconscious for several days due to using too much power. Since this incident, Obito has increasingly indicated Nagato to no longer seek false peace for the shinobi world and invited him to join the Suki no Mi plan. Obito's effort paid off. Nagato again summoned the Gedo Mazo statue, but this time consciously. He summoned the Gedo Mazo when Yahiko died because Hanzo betrayed the Akatsuki peace plan and Konan was captured as hostage. The Gedo Mazo statue rose with a huge shrill sound, part of its body coming up through the underground with the eyes closed by the blindfold. This made everyone present there with a feeling of dread from the unusual and immense power, as if it come from this other world. Gedo Mazo then took out black bars, then stuck the rods into Nagato's back. After they were united, the Gedo Mazo statue reacted with Nagato's Rinnegan power, emitting the huge chakra flow, shaped like a dragon and moving lightning fast toward the shinobi and absorbed souls them instantly. In an instant, Nagato managed to kill hundreds of enemies with the Gedo Mazo's ability. Unfortunately, the Dragon Chakra originating from the Gedo Mazo didn't succeed in killing the main enemy, namely Hanzo, because he used Sunshin no Jutsu to escape, just before the Dragon Chakra swallowed his soul. After using the power of the Gedo Mazo, Nagato became transformed and the black bars on his body didn't disappear, indicating that he was bound to the Gedo Mazo. After seeing this incident, Obito felt very satisfied and then again instigated Nagato. Feeling betrayed the pain of being abandoned by loved ones and constantly seeing shinobi fighting for power, Nagato agreed to work with Obito. He then again summoned the Gedo Mazo statue and then tied it to a sacred room that would be used as place for sealing the Biju into the statue. The Gedo Mazo statue was then sealed by Nagato using the power of his Rinnegan in the form of chains like handcuff binding the hands and feet the Gedo Mazo. After that, using the power of the Rinnegan and the black stake that came from the Gedo Mazo, Nagato resurrected Yahiko by implementing the stakes throughout his body and making him the leader of the Akatsuki. While Nagato was behind the scenes, supplying chakra using the large device consisting of dozens of hoses connected to the Gedo Mazo. He absorbed and processed the chakra in the Gedo Mazo and fed it to Yahiko and added 5 more corps for him to control. The larger Akatsuki organizations began to take actions to capture the Jinchuriki. Nagato then closed the 10 strongest members to help seal Biju into the Gedo Mazo statue. Both Nagato and Obito, who work behind the scenes, are increasingly convinced that their plan to carry out the Suki no Mi actions is getting real. When the Akatsuki members begin to extract the Biju chakra from the Jinchuriki, the blindfold has been covering Gedo Mazo's eyes opens, revealing the 9 eyes on his head. Slowly all the eyes open, but there is no iris, so only the whites of the eyes are visible. However, small bluish irises with small pupils will appear when the tailpiece is sealed in its body, indicating that the Jubi's power has returned to its body. Akatsuki planned in gathering the Biju into the Gedo Mazo went very smoothly thanks to their members consisting of shinobi who were known to be very strong and were generally runway ninja with a very large bounty or S-class shinobi. Akatsuki had succeeded in sealing 7 tailpieces into the statue. Gedo Mazo and chakra emanating from the statue is getting bigger. But obstacles from the Akatsuki plan began to occur when they failed to catch Killer Bee, who was the Hachibi Jinchuriki. Killer Bee, who has been friends with the Hachibi, is able to fully master the Hachibi's abilities and can even enter Biju mode, making Sasuke and his team named Taka very difficult at the time to kidnap Killer Bee. In fact, when Taka's team believed they had succeeded in making Killer Bee die and brought his body to the Akatsuki headquarters, they made a big mistake. For when the Akatsuki members began to extract the Hachibi chakra from Killer Bee's body immediately turned into octopus tentacle, indicating that Killer Bee had managed to escape and they had to go after him again. Not only that, many of the strongest members of the Akatsuki were killed by shinobi from the 4 great countries who had long targeted them very dangerous terrorists. Due to this, Nagato then decided to attack Konoha first in order to gain Kyuubi Jinchuriki. Nagato then sent 6 pain people that he controlled and attacked Konoha. But even though he had pulled all his strength and absorbed a lot of chakra from the Gedo Mazo, Nagato lost to the Konoha shinobi and also the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, Naruto. And unexpectedly by Obito, Nagato in the end betrayed Akatsuki and then revived the Konoha shinobi he had killed because he again believed that the world would return to peace thanks to Naruto's word to him. Due to reviving hundreds of Konoha residents, Nagato ran out of chakra and the latter died. And this caused the Gedo Mazo, who needed a house, turned back in the giant stone statue and couldn't be used to seal the tailpiece. This made Obito very angry and made him hate Naruto very much. This is because the Akatsuki members are almost exhausted. The failure to gather the Biju and Gedo Mazo, which can only be controlled if they have the Rinnegan. But Obito didn't understand. He stole Nagato's eye from his grave after successfully killing Conan and then transformed one of Nagato's Rinnegan eyes into his left eye. With the power of the Rinnegan and Hashira muscle implanted in his body, thanks to Madara, Obito managed to awaken Gedo Mazo again. He then decided to take the Jinchuriki, Hachibi, and Kyuubi using maximum strength by using hundreds of thousands of white Zetsu which had been cloned by Madara and Nagato for decades. Derived from Hashira Masal, victims of the ancient Spuken Tsukuyami, Kaguya, and the processed Gedo Mazo chakra. After that, Obito declared the 4th Great Ninja War to the 5 great countries. When Obito was preparing to go into battle, a shinobi named Kabuto offered to cooperate with him and resurrected the 7th Jinchuriki. At first, Obito was hesitant to cooperate with Kabuto, but after he was gently threatened because Kabuto had managed to find Madara's corpse and was able to resurrect him at any time, Obito was forced to agree to cooperate with Kabuto. After establishing that partnership, Obito's war power increased much stronger because he was able to control the 7 Jinchuriki and grant his size powers as Nagato did in the past. When the Great Ninja War began, Obito suddenly didn't feel the Hachibi and Kyuubi chakra anywhere. This made him wonder. He had almost used half of the white Zetsu troops he had, but there was still no sign of the existence of the two Biju. Until finally he began to feel the Kyuubi chakra in the directions of the shoreline. Without waiting any longer, Obito immediately went over there and then summoned the Gedo Mazo in full size, showing its true size for the first time, but with its eye completely closed. But it turns out that the chakra that Obito felt came from a small amount of Kyuubi chakra that was sold in Hagoromo's heirloom weapon, which was successfully taken over by the alien troops. When the Gedo Mazo was about to take the weapon, two shinobi from the Akameji clan used their body enlargement technique and then tried to stop the Gedo Mazo. Then Gedo Mazo, who had gained the power of the seven-tailed beast, easily defeated the two shinobi. He also managed to fend off the attack of the giant stone wall from the Iwagakure shinobi quite easily. After Obito managed to get the Hagoromo weapon, the raging Gedo Mazo was returned to his original place. Then Obito brought Hagoromo's weapon as backup in order to get supply of Kyuubi chakra, even if only a little. The Gedo Mazo statue was resurrected by Obito when in the end he faced the Hachibi and Kyuubi Jinchuriki who collaborate with the Shinobi Alliance. With the entertainment of the Jinchuriki Biju, Obito was able to get the Biju out of the Gedo Mazo. He then controls it with special chain that comes from the Gedo Mazo, which his chakra gives to defeat Naruto and Killer Bee. But unfortunately, the arrival of reinforcements, namely Kakashi's Cope Ninja and Konoha Green's Monster Guy, made Obito have difficulty taking the Kyuubi and Hachibi. Plus, Kyuubi finally united with Naruto managed to overthrow the Yonbi Jinchuriki, making him unable to control it anymore and had pulled him back into the Gedo Mazo. Not only that, the Biju was still able to refuse to obey his orders, even though he had restrained the Biju using chains that come from the Gedo Mazo. Things got worse when all the Jinchuriki got out of control and made him have to pull the tail beast back into the Gedo Mazo. Feeling very pressed, Obito was finally forced to take the Hagoromo weapon he had earlier and gave it to Gedo Mazo. By swallowing the weapon containing the Kyuubi chakra, then with the nine-tailed beast chakras have been collected, making Gedo Mazo's originally closed eyes widen and all pupils finally appeared. This was accompanied by strong earthquakes and winds as well as loud moans from the Gedo Mazo because in the end his body, which was originally just skin, was now filled with the power of the nine beasts after thousands of years. The Gedo Mazo statue finally began to turn into Jubi figure, starting with its eyes bleeding one by one because of the chakra spike that were too big, then began to appear like a camel hump on the Gedo Mazo's back and kind of tail. While the statue of Gedo Mazo is entering its transformation stage, Naruto, Kakashi, Guy, and Killer Bee are still trying to stop the change by defeating Obito, who is the controller of Gedo Mazo, so that the change he had been waiting for were not thwarted by this four. Obito then used a fire Kakai named Uchiha Gaisi around the Gedo Mazo to protect him from enemies who tried to block his change. During this transformation, the Gedo Mazo statue prostrate and its legs and arm merged into one, while its head enlarged and its nine eyes merged into one large, bright red Rinno Sharingan eye. The change continued until in the end the shape of the Gedo Mazo changed 180 degrees into kind of snail monster with one big eye, two hands and 10 large tails behind it. This indicates that the Jubi has fully awakened. During the war, the Jubi almost turned into Gedo Mazo statue again because the alien troops gathered in the United to defeat him. But thanks to control of Obito and Madara, he managed to prevent the alien troops from stopping him. Jubi was even absorbed by Obito and made himself a Jubi Jinchuriki. The battle situation turned back and forth very quickly, making the Jubi even more impassioned. The Biju were successfully pulled out the alien's force and made Obito the longer Jinchuriki, and the Jubi were again to a verge of turning into Gedo Mazo statue. At the time, Madara took over, then controlled the Jubi toward the next change, which was the final change called Shinju, or the Three of the Gods. It was this point that the determinations of Madara and Obito's plans to carry out the Shukinomi was carried out. Even though it took quite a long time, finally the God Tree slowly began to bloom to produce chakra fruit. Without wasting time, Madara immediately issued the Genjutsu Mugen Tsukuyomi with the help of the power of the chakra tree. But unfortunately, when the last flower bud was about to bloom, Naruto slashed the tree and knocked it down. Madara, who didn't want his plans had been running it for hundreds of years to be in vain, but wished first and absorbed the chakra tree. But after he absorbed the chakra tree, he turned into the figure of Kaguya Akatsuki, who is the owner of the tree. It turned out that all of this was a grand plan devised by Black Zetsu, who was the son of Kaguya Akatsuki, in order to resurrect his mother as a whole. At that time, very unexpectedly, there were 4 people who weren't affected by the Mugen Tsukuyomi. The 4 people are Kakashi, Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura. They then fought Kaguya and managed to defeat her with the help of Hagoromo's spirit and the Nine-Tailed Beast. Naruto and Sasuke then sealed Kaguya with Chibaku Tensei as Hagoromo and Hamura did in the past. However, Naruto, who had learned from historical experience, tried to prevent the rise of the Gedo Mazo by participating in selling the Black Zetsu along with Kaguya. Since that day, the Gedo Mazo is now only left in history. Some of its relic in the form of statue altar and sacred room are now used as museum that can be visited by anyone as historical evidence of the enormity of power of the Gedo Mazo and Jubi. That's all the story from Yua Shinobi. What do you think about Gedo Mazo? Share your opinion in the comments below. And if you are curious about which character we will tell their story life next, don't forget to hit subscribe, like and share, and also ring the notification bell so you won't miss the interesting story from us. This is all for now. It's Yua Shinobi signing out. Have a great day.